Hello all. Now that you're armed with the basic concepts of assets and liabilities, let's just dive into the topic of different types of assets and liabilities. In this video, we will be looking at classification of assets part 1. As you all know, assets are what a company owns. So in a balance sheet, assets are classified and reported in decreasing order of liquidity on the left-hand side of the balance sheet. I just introduced a new word, liquidity. So what does liquidity exactly mean? Liquidity is the ability to convert your assets into cash easily without any loss of value. So what does that exactly mean? It means an asset is liquid if an asset can be sold right away at fair market value. So let me give you an example. If I want to sell my house today, this very day, will I be able to get the whole fair market value in cash today itself? If I'm very lucky, yes. But chances are I'll not get the whole fair market value in hot cash right now, this very day. There will be a loss of value if I want the cash this very day. What about my bank balance? Can I convert it into cash this very day at this very instant? Of course, yes. So, which of these two assets is more liquid? My bank balance or my house? My bank balance, of course. So, now that you've understood liquidity, in a balance sheet, the assets are listed in decreasing order of liquidity. What does that mean? The most liquid assets are listed on top and the less liquid ones are at the bottom. So what are these most liquid assets called? They're called current assets. So now we are going to look into current assets in further detail. What are current assets? Current assets are basically those assets that are current, which means they can be converted into cash within 1 year without any significant loss of value. So there are 4 major types of current assets. The first one is cash and cash equivalents. The second one is accounts receivable, i.e., what people owe the business, also called sundry debtors. The third one is called inventory. And the fourth one is called loans and advances, including notes receivables. So let's look at each of these in detail. Cash and cash equivalents, as the name suggests, means cash and those assets which can be immediately converted into cash, which are almost practically cash. For example, bank balance. For example, any security which you can immediately go sell and convert into cash right away at this very instant. Now, what about accounts receivable? Accounts receivable are what people owe the business. So who are those who owe money to the business? Can you think of any? You're right. those who have bought the company's goods or services on credit. So let me give you an example to explain this easier. Tom is a carpenter. He goes to Home Depot and buys tools and home accessories worth $2,000. But he has only $500 cash with him. He tells Home Depot that he will pay the remaining $1,500 after 1 month. So for Home Depot, Tom's $1,500 of credit is accounts receivable. Is that clear? Accounts receivable is the second most liquid asset. What is the first one? Cash and cash equivalents. So now let's look at the third type of asset, current asset, namely inventory. There are 3 types of inventory: raw materials, work in progress, and finished goods. Let me give you an example to explain what these words mean. If Barbara sells customized tailored clothes, she's likely to have 3 types of inventory. The different types of fabrics from which a customer may choose to make a particular garment for himself or herself. That is called raw materials, the different types of fabrics. Once the fabric is chosen by the customer, Barbara starts stitching them. So she takes 3 days on an average to complete a garment. So the semi-finished garments that is with her over the 3 days is called work in progress. Once she completes the garment, it's a finished good. So every business has some amount of all these 3 types of inventory: raw material, work in progress, and finished goods. So inventory is the third most liquid asset. Now let's look at the 4th type of current assets, that's loans and advances. Again, let me give you an example to make it easy to understand. Jacqueline is the marketing manager of T-Mobile. She wants to buy a house for $300,000 through mortgage. And she has to pay $25,000 as down payment. But she has only $10,000 of savings, which means she still needs $15,000 more. So she goes to a boss and asks for $15,000 as advance salary. Jacqueline tells her boss that she will pay back this advance over the next 6 months. Her boss knows that Jacqueline is a very sincere, hardworking asset to T-Mobile. So her boss agrees to give her the advance. Good for her. So now the $15,000 advance that T-Mobile gave Jacqueline is a current asset for T-Mobile. Why so? Because T-Mobile will receive this advance back from Jacqueline within 1 year. So what about the assets that will take more than a year to convert into cash? We will look at these assets in the next video.